My head felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to it, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was waking up in Harper's bed with absolutely no memory of how I got there. And the even worse part was hearing Callum's key in the front door of our apartment just as I was sneaking back in at 7:30 in the morning. I'm Volara Emmeline Prynn, 30 years old, and until yesterday, I thought I had my life pretty well figured out. I work as a medical office administrator at Dr. Peterson's clinic downtown. I live with my boyfriend Callum in a cozy apartment we've shared for 2 years. And I have a solid group of friends from college who still get together every few weeks for drinks and gossip. Harper Jules Quinlan has been my best friend since sophomore year, and even though she has a girlfriend now, Raylyn Mendoza, this intense photographer who works at the coffee shop on 5th Street, we've always maintained our close friendship. But this morning, everything felt different, wrong, dangerous. Vol, that you? Callum's voice carried from the kitchen, and I could hear the confusion in it. He worked in IT security for a consulting firm, which meant he was methodical about everything, including my schedule. He knew I was supposed to be home last night. Yeah, just went for an early run, I called back, my voice scratchy from whatever had happened at the Velvet Vine last night. The lie came so easily, it scared me. I rushed to the bathroom and caught sight of myself in the mirror. My dark hair was a mess, my makeup was smeared, and I was still wearing the same black dress from last night. This was not the look of someone who had gone for an early morning jog. Callum appeared in the doorway behind me, his reflection joining mine in the mirror. At 33, he was the steady, reliable type, the kind of guy who always had his life together, who never lost his temper, who solved problems with logic instead of emotion. His brown hair was perfectly styled even this early in the morning, and his blue eyes were studying me with that careful attention he usually reserved for security protocols at work. "Rough run?" he asked quietly. "Something like that." I turned on the water and started washing my face, hoping to buy myself some time to think. "How was your night? I thought you were working late on that new client project." "I was. Got home around 11 and you weren't here. Texted you a couple times." My stomach dropped. I hadn't even thought to check my phone. "Sorry, I was at the Velvet Vine with Harper and the gang. You know how loud it gets in there." Callum nodded slowly, but something in his expression had shifted. "Must have been some night. You usually text me back even when you're out." This was the moment when I should have told him the truth. I should have said that I didn't remember much after the 3rd round of tequila shots, that I woke up in Harper's bed with no memory of how I got there, that I was scared and confused and needed his help to figure out what had happened. Instead, I felt this surge of irritation at his questions. "Can you not interrogate me before I've even had coffee? I'm 30 years old, Callum. I don't need to check in every 5 minutes." He stepped back like I'd slapped him. In 2 years of dating, I'd never snapped at him like that. Callum was the most understanding, patient person I'd ever been with. He didn't deserve my attitude, especially when I was the one who had clearly screwed up somehow. "I wasn't interrogating you," he said carefully. "I was worried when you didn't come home and didn't answer your texts." "Well, I'm home now, aren't I? Everything's fine." But everything wasn't fine. As I brushed my teeth, I caught flashes of memory from the night before. Harper's hand on my lower back as we danced. The way she kept buying me drinks even after I said I should slow down. Her girlfriend Ray leaving early because she had to work this morning. Harper suggesting we go back to her place instead of me trying to get an Uber home. And then nothing. Complete blackness until I woke up in her bed this morning, both of us fully clothed, but definitely having slept in the same bed. Harper was still asleep when I left, and I didn't wake her up. I just grabbed my purse and got out of there as fast as I could. "Vol, can I ask you something?" Callum's voice was different now, more serious. I spit out the toothpaste and looked at him in the mirror. "What?" "Can I see your phone for a second?" The question hit me like ice water. "What? Why?" "I just want to check something." "Check what?" "Callum, this is ridiculous. You're acting like I committed some kind of crime. I'm not accusing you of anything. I just want to look at your phone. The panic that rose in my chest was immediate and overwhelming. I didn't even know what might be on my phone from last night, but the idea of Callum going through it made me feel sick. No, absolutely not. I'm not going to let you go through my personal stuff just because you're feeling insecure. The word insecure hung in the air between us like a weapon. I saw Callum's face change, saw him absorb the hit and decide something in that moment. Okay, he said quietly. You're right. I'm sorry for asking. But he didn't sound sorry. He sounded like someone who had just gotten the answer to a question he hadn't wanted to ask. He turned and walked out of the bathroom, leaving me alone with my reflection and the growing certainty that I had just made everything so much worse. I spent the next 20 minutes in the shower, trying to wash away whatever had happened last night and figure out how to handle the situation. The smart thing would be to call Harper and find out what she remembered. The smarter thing would be to tell Callum the truth and deal with whatever consequences came from that. Instead, I decided to pretend nothing had happened and hope it would all blow over. When I came out of the bathroom, Callum was sitting at our kitchen table with his laptop open and his phone next to it. He looked up when I appeared, and there was something different in his expression, something careful and distant. I made coffee, he said. Thanks. I poured myself a cup and sat down across from him, trying to read his mood. Listen, about earlier. Volons. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it I'd never heard before. I need to show you something. He picked up his phone and turned the screen toward me. It was open to his message requests on Instagram, and there was one from Raylin Mendoza, sent at 6:12 a.m. The message read, Hey, sorry to bother you, but I'm trying to reach Volara. Harper posted a good morning selfie from bed, and Volara's name is tagged in it. Can you ask her to call me? My vision actually blurred for a second. I stared at the message, reading it over and over, trying to process what it meant. Harper had taken a selfie, this morning, from bed, and somehow my name was in it. I don't understand, I said, but my voice came out as barely a whisper. Callum was watching me with those careful eyes, and I realized he was cataloguing my reaction the same way he catalogued security threats at work. Ray seems to think you were there when Harper took this picture. That's impossible. I mean, I was there, but nothing happened. We just crashed after drinking too much. It's not what it looks like. What does it look like, Vol? The question was so quiet, so reasonable, and it cut right through every excuse I was trying to build. It looks like something that it's not, I said, but even I could hear how weak that sounded. Callum nodded slowly and closed his phone. Okay. Okay? Yeah. If you say nothing happened, then nothing happened. But the way he said it made it clear that he didn't believe me at all. And the worst part was, I wasn't sure I believed myself either. I spent the entire drive to work trying to figure out what to do about the Harper situation, but my brain felt like it was wrapped in cotton. The hangover wasn't helping, but the real problem was the growing certainty that I had screwed up in a way that might not be fixable. Dr. Peterson's clinic was busy as always on Monday mornings, which meant I could lose myself in scheduling appointments and dealing with insurance paperwork, instead of thinking about the look on Callum's face when he showed me that message from Ray. But around 10:30, my phone buzzed with a text from Harper. Hey, you left early. Everything okay? Last night was fun. Coffee later? I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. Hangover from hell. What do you remember from last night? Her response came back immediately. Lowell, not much after those tequila shots. We definitely had a good time, though. Ray's being weird about something, but whatever. The casual tone of her message somehow made everything worse. If Harper didn't remember anything specific either, then how was I supposed to figure out what actually happened? And what did she mean about Ray being weird? Before I could respond, another text came through, this one from a number I didn't recognize. This is Ray. We need to talk. Can you meet me at Common Grounds at lunch? My hands were actually shaking as I typed back. About what? About the selfie Harper posted this morning, the one with your name in her bed. I closed my eyes and tried to think. I needed to get ahead of this before it spiraled completely out of control. The first step was talking to Harper and making sure we were on the same page about what happened, or didn't happen. I called her during my lunch break. "Vol, feeling better?" Harper's voice was bright and cheerful, like always. She had this way of making everything seem like an adventure, even when things got complicated. "Harper, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Okay, that sounds serious. Last night, after we went back to your place, do you remember anything specific that happened?" There was a pause. Define specific. Did anything happen between us?" Another pause, longer this time. "Vol, we were both pretty drunk. I remember us talking about how Callum's been kind of distant lately, and you were upset about something. We fell asleep watching Netflix. Why?" "Your girlfriend saw some selfie you posted this morning. She thinks something happened." "Oh, that. Yeah, I took a stupid picture when I woke up because my hair looked good for once. I might have tagged you in it without thinking. Ray's been paranoid about us lately anyway. She thinks every friendship I have is some kind of threat." The relief I felt was overwhelming. So nothing happened. We just slept in the same bed because we were too drunk to think straight. "Right. I mean, we're both adults. It's not like we haven't crashed together before." "But we hadn't crashed together before. Not like that. In college, sure, but that was different. Now, Harper had a girlfriend, and I had Callum, and the whole situation was infinitely more complicated." "Harper, I think we should probably not mention this to anyone else. Callum's already asking questions, and if Ray's upset..." "Vol, are you ashamed of being my friend?" The question caught me off guard. "What? No, of course not." "Because that's what it sounds like you think something's wrong with us being close. That's not what I meant. I just think we should be careful about how this looks to other people." "How it looks?" Harper's voice had gotten colder. "Since when do you care how our friendship looks to other people?" I was handling this all wrong, but I didn't know how else to approach it. "Since your girlfriend is apparently taking pictures of your phone and sending messages to my boyfriend." "She did what?" "She messaged Callum this morning asking about the selfie." The silence on the other end of the line stretched long enough that I thought the call might have dropped. "Harper? I'm here. I can't believe she did that. That's so out of line." "Maybe you should talk to her. Clear things up." "Yeah, I will. And Vol? Don't worry about this, okay? It's just a misunderstanding. Everything's going to be fine." But Harper's reassurance didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made me more nervous. There was something in her tone that suggested she wasn't taking this as seriously as she should be. I was supposed to meet Ray at Common Grounds, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that conversation could only make things worse. Instead, I texted her back. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Nothing happened between Harper and me. We just crashed after drinking too much. I'm sorry if the selfie was confusing, but there's really nothing to discuss." Her response came back within minutes. "The selfie shows you asleep in her bed at 6 a.m. Your hair is messed up and you're wearing yesterday's clothes. Harper's arm is around you, and you both look like you just woke up together. If that's nothing, then I'd hate to see what something looks like." I felt sick reading it. The way she described it made it sound so much worse than what I remembered, or thought I remembered. "Like I said, we were drunk and fell asleep watching TV. That's all." "Volara, I've been with Harper for 8 months. I know what she looks like after sex. And I know what you look like in that selfie." The message hit me like a physical blow. She was saying that something had happened, something I didn't remember, or didn't want to remember. I didn't respond to that text. Instead, I spent the rest of my lunch break sitting in my car in the clinic parking lot, trying to figure out how my life had gotten so complicated in the span of 12 hours. When I got home that evening, Callum was already there, which was unusual. He normally worked until at least 6:30, but it was barely 5:15. "Hey," I said, trying to sound normal. "You're home early." Slow day. He was sitting on our couch with his laptop open, but he closed it when I came in. "How was work?" "Fine. Busy." I hung up my purse and tried to read his mood. "Everything okay?" "I need to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer." My stomach dropped. "Okay." "This morning, when I asked to see your phone, you said no pretty quickly, and then you seemed upset that I was asking questions about last night." "Callum, I'm not finished." His voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath it. "I've been thinking about it all day, and I realize that your reaction was the reaction of someone who has something to hide. That's not fair. I was hungover, and you were acting like you didn't trust me." "Do I have a reason not to trust you?" The question hung between us like a challenge. This was my chance to tell him everything, about waking up in Harper's bed, about the selfie, about Ray's accusations. This was my chance to be honest and let him help me figure out what had actually happened. Instead, I felt that same surge of irritation from this morning. "I can't believe we're having this conversation. You're acting like I cheated on you or something." "Did you?" The question was so direct, so simple, that it took my breath away. "No," I said. "I did not cheat on you." Callum studied my face for a long moment, and I forced myself to meet his eyes. I wasn't lying exactly. I didn't remember cheating on him. As far as I knew, nothing had happened between Harper and me. "Okay," he said finally. "I believe you." But something in his tone suggested that believing me and trusting me were two different things. By Wednesday, I was starting to think maybe I had overreacted to the whole situation. Callum seemed to be back to normal. He was still a little quieter than usual, but he wasn't asking weird questions or making comments about my phone. Harper had texted me a few times with normal friend stuff, and I hadn't heard anything more from Ray. Maybe it really had been just a misunderstanding that would blow over. Then I went to lunch with my coworker Jessica, and everything fell apart again. "So," Jessica said as we sat down at our usual table at the sandwich place across from the clinic, "I have to ask you about something, and I hope you don't get mad." My blood pressure spiked immediately. "What?" "My roommate Sarah knows Harper through some photography thing, and she saw this post on Instagram." Jessica trailed off, looking uncomfortable. "What post?" "It was a selfie Harper posted Monday morning. Sarah showed it to me because she thought it was weird that you were tagged in a picture from someone else's bed." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. "She showed you the picture?" "Vol, I'm not judging you or anything. I mean, if you and Callum are having problems, that's your business. But people are talking about it." "People are talking about what, exactly?" Jessica shifted in her seat. "About whether you're cheating on Callum with Harper." The words hit me like a slap. "That's ridiculous. Harper and I are friends. We've been friends since college." "I know that, but the picture, it kind of looks like more than friends, you know?" I wanted to demand that she show me the picture, but I also didn't want to see it. If it was bad enough that coworkers were gossiping about it, then it was worse than I had imagined. "Nothing happened," I said firmly. "We went out drinking, we crashed at her place, end of story." "Okay." Jessica nodded, but she didn't look convinced. "I just thought you should know that people are talking." I spent the rest of lunch trying to act normal, but inside I was panicking. If people at work were seeing this picture and drawing conclusions, then how many other people had seen it? How far had this spread? When I got back to the office, I immediately went to Harper's Instagram page. The selfie was still there, posted at 6:23 a.m. on Monday morning. In it, Harper looked perfectly put together, despite having been drinking the night before, her blonde hair falling in waves around her face. And there, barely visible in the background, was me, asleep, my dark hair messy, still wearing my black dress from the night before. But the worst part was Harper's caption. "Best sleepover ever. Volara Prynn knows how to party. Best friends. Girls' night. Tequila made us do it." The hashtag, tequila made us do it, made my stomach turn. Combined with the image of us in bed together, it suggested things that I desperately hoped weren't true. I called Harper immediately. Vol, what's up? I need you to delete that selfie right now. What? Why? Because people are seeing it and getting the wrong idea. My coworker just asked me if I was cheating on Callum with you. Harper was quiet for a moment. That's ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous, but that's what people are thinking when they see a picture of us in bed, together with a caption about tequila making us do things. Vol, you're being paranoid. It's just a cute picture of friends having fun. Harper, please, just delete it. For me. Another pause. Fine, but I think you're overreacting. Thank you. I hung up and immediately checked her Instagram again. The post was gone, but the damage was already done. Jessica's roommate had seen it, which meant other people had seen it, which meant screenshots probably existed somewhere. That evening, Callum and I were supposed to have dinner with his family. His mother Doreen and his sister May were in town for May's birthday. I had been looking forward to it earlier in the week, but now I was dreading it. Doreen Dorsey was protective of Callum in the way that mothers of only sons often are. She was polite to me, but I always felt like she was evaluating whether I was good enough for her boy. May, on the other hand, had always been warm and welcoming. She was divorced and had a more relaxed attitude about relationships. We met them at a nice Italian place downtown, and everything seemed normal at first. Doreen asked about my work, May told us about her new apartment, and Callum seemed relaxed and happy. But then, halfway through dinner, Doreen said something that made my blood run cold. Callum, dear, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is everything all right between you and Volara? You seemed a bit stressed when we talked on Tuesday. I looked at Callum, surprised. He hadn't mentioned talking to his mother about us. Everything's fine, Mum, Callum said carefully. Just work stuff. Because if you ever need to talk, you know I'm here for you. And May, too. May nodded. Relationships can be complicated. If you need advice or just someone to listen. There was something in the way they were both looking at Callum, something that suggested they knew more than they were letting on. Had he told them about the Harper situation? Really, everything's fine, I said, trying to keep my voice light. Callum's been working on a big project, and I've been busy with work too. Sometimes couples just have off weeks, you know. Doreen smiled at me, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of course, dear. The conversation moved on to other topics, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being judged. Every time I caught Doreen looking at me, I wondered what Callum had told her. Then, as we were finishing dessert, Callum said something that made my heart stop. Mom, May, I have to ask you something. Have either of you noticed that Vol has been different lately? Maybe staying out later, being more secretive about her phone, that kind of thing? The question was so casual, so matter-of-fact, that it took me a second to process what he was really asking. He was asking his family to confirm his suspicions about me, in front of me. Callum, I said, my voice shaking slightly. What are you doing? I'm just asking for their perspective. Sometimes when you're too close to a situation, you can't see it clearly. May looked uncomfortable. I don't think this is really something we should... Actually, Doreen interrupted, now that you mention it, Volara does seem a bit on edge tonight, more than usual. I felt my face flush hot. I'm sitting right here. If you have concerns about my behavior, you can ask me directly instead of talking about me like I'm not in the room. You're right, Callum said. So let me ask you directly. Have you been staying out later than usual lately? Have you been more protective of your phone? Have you been picking fights over things that normally wouldn't bother you? Each question hit like a physical blow, because they were all true. I had been doing all of those things, and I hadn't even realized it until he pointed them out. I don't know what you want me to say, I said. I want you to tell me the truth about what's been going on. Nothing's been going on. My voice came out louder than I intended, and several people at nearby tables turned to look at us. I felt mortified, sitting there with Callum's family watching me fall apart. I think maybe we should continue this conversation at home, May said gently. No, it's fine, Callum said. Vol, can you just answer one simple question for me? What? Have you been lying to me about anything? The question hung in the air between us, and I realized that everyone at the table was waiting for my answer. Doreen, May, and Callum were all looking at me with varying degrees of concern and suspicion. I should have said yes. I should have admitted that I had been lying about what happened with Harper, that I was scared and confused and needed help figuring out the truth. Instead, I picked up my wine glass with a shaking hand and accidentally knocked it over, sending red wine spreading across the white tablecloth. The silence that followed was deafening. I think, Doreen said quietly, that answers the question. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the look on Callum's face when I spilled the wine, or Doreen's satisfied expression when she said that my clumsiness had answered Callum's question about whether I was lying. By Thursday morning, I was exhausted and desperate. I needed to talk to Harper face to face and figure out exactly what had happened between us. More importantly, I needed to make sure we were telling the same story to everyone who asked. I called in sick to work and drove to Harper's loft in the Arts District. She shared the space with Ray, and normally I would have called first, but I was hoping to catch Harper alone. I got lucky. Ray's car wasn't in the parking lot, and when Harper answered the door, she was still in her pajamas with a cup of coffee in her hand. Vol, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at work? I called in sick. We need to talk. Harper stepped aside to let me in, and I was struck by how different the loft looked in daylight. It was all exposed brick and industrial lighting, with Ray's photography equipment set up in one corner and Harper's art supplies scattered on a table by the windows. It was the kind of place that looked effortlessly cool, just like Harper herself. Coffee? Harper offered. No thanks. Harper, I need you to tell me exactly what you remember about Sunday night. Everything. Harper set down her coffee cup and looked at me with concern. Vol, what's going on? You seem really stressed. People are talking about us. About that selfie you posted. My coworker thinks I'm cheating on Callum. His family thinks I'm lying about something, and Ray apparently thinks we slept together. Okay, slow down. Harper sat on her couch and patted the cushion next to her. Come sit. I remained standing. Just tell me what you remember. Harper sighed. Fine. We went to the Velvet Vine. We had too much to drink. Ray left early because she had to work the next morning. You were upset about something with Callum. You said he'd been distant and you felt like he didn't appreciate you. We came back here. We talked for a while. We fell asleep watching Netflix. That's it. What did we talk about? Just relationship stuff. You were saying that you felt like Callum took you for granted, that he never did anything romantic anymore. I said that maybe you deserved someone who appreciated you more. Something cold settled in my stomach. What else? Harper looked away. Vol, we were both really drunk. I don't think we should read too much into anything that was said. Harper, what else? You said that you sometimes wondered what it would be like to be with someone who actually paid attention to you. Someone who made you feel desired instead of just comfortable. And what did you say? I said that you were beautiful and smart and funny, and any guy would be lucky to have you. Any guy? Harper met my eyes. Any person. The admission hung between us like a confession. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Did we kiss? I asked. Harper was quiet for a long moment. Vol. Did we kiss, Harper? Yes. The word hit me like a physical blow. I sat down heavily on the couch, my legs suddenly unable to support me. How much else happened? Nothing. I mean, we kissed and it was nice. But then you started crying and saying you couldn't do this to Callum, and we stopped. We just held each other until we fell asleep. We kissed. I said it out loud, trying to make it real. I cheated on Callum. It was just a kiss, Vol. You were drunk and emotional, and I cheated on my boyfriend with my best friend. Don't say it like that. It makes it sound sordid. I stared at her. How should I say it? Like two friends who care about each other and got caught up in a moment. Harper, do you have feelings for me? The question came out before I could stop myself, and I saw Harper's face change. Vol, I've always cared about you. You know that. That's not what I asked. Harper stood up and walked to the window, her back to me. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me the truth. The truth is that I've been in love with you since college. The truth is that I've spent 8 years watching you date guys who don't deserve you and pretending I was okay with just being your friend. The truth is that Sunday night, when you said you felt unappreciated and invisible, I wanted to show you how wrong you were. I felt like the room was spinning. You're with Ray. I know. You've been with her for 8 months. I know. Harper, what are we doing? She turned around to face me. I don't know, but I know that Sunday night felt more real than anything I've felt in years. My phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Ray. I know you're at our place. We need to talk, all 3 of us. I showed Harper the message and her face went pale. She's on her way home, Harper said. What do I do? I don't know. We stood there looking at each other, and I realized that everything I thought I knew about my life was wrong. Harper had been in love with me for years. I had cheated on Callum, even if it was just a kiss. Ray knew something was going on, and she was coming home to confront us. I have to go, I said. Vol, wait. But I was already grabbing my purse and heading for the door. I couldn't face Ray right now, not when I was still trying to process what Harper had just told me. I made it to my car just as Ray's Honda pulled into the parking lot. For a moment, we stared at each other through our windshields, and I saw the anger and hurt in her face. Instead of stopping to talk, I backed out of my parking space and drove away as fast as I could. When I got home, Callum was sitting at our kitchen table with his laptop open and a manila envelope next to it. He looked up when I came in, and I could tell immediately that something had changed. How was your sick day? He asked. Fine. Just slept mostly. That's funny because I drove by Harper's place around noon and saw your car there. My heart stopped. I went to get some medicine from her. She had some leftover antibiotics. Vol, please stop lying to me. I'm not. Yes, you are. You've been lying to me since Sunday night, and I'm tired of pretending I don't know it. I sat down across from him, my hands shaking. Callum, I know about the kiss. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? Ray called me this afternoon. She told me everything. About the selfie, about what she saw in that picture, about Harper being in love with you. I felt like I was going to throw up. Callum, I can explain. Can you? Because I'd really like to hear an explanation for why my girlfriend of 2 years kissed her best friend and then lied to me about it for 4 days. It didn't mean anything. I was drunk and upset and you chose to kiss someone else instead of talking to me about whatever was bothering you. It was a mistake. Was it? Or was it something you've been thinking about for a while? I couldn't answer that question because I didn't know the answer myself. Callum reached for the manila envelope and slid it across the table to me. I think you should look at this. With shaking hands, I opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of papers. The top page was a formal letter from a law firm, Barlow, Finch and Keller. What is this? I'm protecting myself, Volara, financially and legally. I scanned the letter, my vision blurring as I tried to understand the legal language. Words jumped out at me. Breach of trust, cohabitation agreement, asset protection. You're suing me. I'm making sure that if this relationship ends, which it looks like it's going to, I don't lose everything I've worked for. Callum, please, we can work through this. Can we? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been living a double life, kissing your best friend, lying to me about it, and then getting angry at me for asking questions. It was one kiss. That you remember? The implication of his words hit me like ice water. What's that supposed to mean? It means that if you can lie to me about a kiss, you can lie to me about anything. It means that I don't actually know what happened that night, and neither do you. I stared at him, this man I had been with for 2 years, and realized that I had destroyed everything between us in one night of poor judgment. "What happens now?" I asked. Callum closed his laptop and stood up. "Now you find somewhere else to stay while I figure out what I want to do next." "You're kicking me out?" "I'm asking you to give me some space to think. The papers in that envelope explain your rights and my rights. Read them." He walked toward our bedroom, then stopped and turned back to me. "Vol, for what it's worth, I really did love you, but I can't be with someone I don't trust." And then he was gone, leaving me alone with the legal papers and the wreckage of my life. I spent the weekend at my brother Ellis's apartment, sleeping on his couch and trying to figure out how my life had fallen apart so completely. Ellis was 24 and still had that optimistic view of the world that comes with not having made any major mistakes yet. He kept telling me that everything would work out, that Callum would calm down and we'd figure out a way to fix things. But Monday morning, I got a call from Callum's lawyer that made it clear this wasn't something that was going to blow over. "Ms. Prynn, this is David Barlow from Barlow, Finch and Keller. I represent Callum Dorsey. We need to schedule a meeting to discuss the dissolution of your cohabitation agreement." "Dissolution?" "Mr. Dorsey is terminating your shared living arrangement and wants to formalize the division of assets and responsibilities." "Can he do that?" "According to the agreement you both signed when you moved in together, yes. Either party can terminate with 30 days' notice." I had completely forgotten about the cohabitation agreement. Callum had insisted on it when we moved in together, and I had signed it without really reading it carefully. At the time, it seemed like a smart, practical thing to do. Now it felt like a trap. "When do you want to meet?" "How about Wednesday at 2? My office is downtown." "Fine." I spent the next 2 days reading and rereading the cohabitation agreement, trying to understand exactly what I had signed. The more I read, the more I realized how thoroughly Callum had protected himself. The apartment was in his name only. The furniture was mostly his, purchased before we moved in together. The only things that were clearly mine were my clothes, my books, and my car. Everything else, the security deposit, the utilities, even the Netflix account, was tied to Callum. I had been so focused on the romantic aspect of our relationship that I had never paid attention to the practical details. Now I was realizing that I had been living in Callum's life, not building a life with him. Wednesday afternoon, I walked into the offices of Barlow, Finch and Keller, feeling like I was walking to my own execution. The lobby was all marble and glass, the kind of place that screamed expensive legal fees. David Barlow was exactly what I expected. Mid-50s, grey suit, the kind of calm competence that comes from handling messy situations for wealthy clients. Callum was already there when I arrived, sitting at a conference table with a stack of papers in front of him. "Ms. Prynn, thank you for coming. Please, have a seat." I sat down across from Callum, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. "Let's get straight to the point," Barlow said. "Mr. Dorsey wants to terminate your cohabitation agreement, effective immediately. He's willing to waive the 30-day notice period if you can vacate the apartment by this weekend." "This weekend? Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not really our concern," Barlow said smoothly. "However, Mr. Dorsey is prepared to offer you a settlement that should help with your transition." He slid a document across the table to me. It was a settlement agreement offering me $5,000 in exchange for vacating the apartment immediately and waiving any claims to shared property. $5,000? We've been together for 2 years. "Ms. Prynn, you have no legal claim to the apartment or to Mr. Dorsey's assets. This settlement is a gesture of goodwill." I looked at Callum. "Is this really what you want?" Finally, he met my eyes. "Vol, you made your choice when you decided to lie to me. This is me making mine." "It was one kiss, Callum. One mistake. One mistake that you lied about for 4 days. One mistake that you tried to cover up by making me feel crazy for asking questions. I was scared. You were selfish. The words hit me like a slap. That's not fair. Barlow cleared his throat. Perhaps we could focus on the practical matters at hand. Actually, I said, I want to know exactly what evidence you think you have of wrongdoing on my part. Barlow and Callum exchanged a look. Ms. Prynn, this isn't a criminal proceeding. We don't need evidence of wrongdoing. But you're treating me like I committed some kind of crime. I want to know what you think you know. Barlow opened a folder and pulled out several documents. Very well. We have the Instagram post from Harper Quinlan showing you in her bed Sunday morning. We have testimony from Ray Mendoza about what she observed in that photograph. We have phone records showing multiple calls and texts between you and Ms. Quinlan in the days following the incident. Phone records? How did you get my phone records? The phone plan is in Mr. Dorsey's name. He has access to the usage records for all lines on the account. I felt sick. Callum had been monitoring my phone usage. We also have this, Barlow continued, pulling out a printed screenshot. A text message thread between you and Ms. Quinlan from Tuesday morning. I looked at the screenshot and felt my blood run cold. It was the conversation where Harper and I had discussed getting our story straight about what happened Sunday night. How did you get that? Ms. Quinlan provided it, Callum said quietly. Harper gave you our text messages? Ray convinced her that it was the right thing to do. Apparently, Harper's been feeling guilty about what happened. I stared at the printed messages, seeing my own words used as evidence against me. In black and white, the conversation looked damning. It looked like two people coordinating a cover-up. There's more, Barlow said, pulling out another document. A signed statement from Ms. Quinlan admitting that physical contact occurred between the two of you Sunday night. She gave you a statement. She felt it was important to be honest about what happened. I couldn't believe it. Harper had thrown me under the bus to save her own relationship with Ray. Ms. Prynn, Barlow continued, you should understand that Mr. Dorsey would be well within his rights to pursue this matter more aggressively. The cohabitation agreement includes a morality clause that could void your rights to any shared property in the event of infidelity. A morality clause? I grabbed the cohabitation agreement and flipped through it until I found the relevant section. There it was, in black and white. Any act of infidelity by either party would result in forfeiture of claims to shared assets. You planned this, I said to Callum. You put this clause in here because you never trusted me. I put it in there because I wanted us both to take our commitment seriously, Callum replied. I never thought I'd have to use it. So what happens now? Now you sign the settlement agreement and move out, Barlow said. Or we proceed with the morality clause and you get nothing. I looked around the conference room, at Barlow, with his expensive suit and cold demeanour, at the stack of evidence they had assembled against me, at Callum sitting there like a stranger. Can I have a few minutes to think about this? Of course. I walked out of the conference room and into the hallway, my hands shaking. Through the window, I could see the city below, people going about their normal lives while mine crumbled around me. My phone buzzed with a text from Ellis. How's it going? Remember, this will all work out. But looking at the evidence they had assembled, the photos, the statements, the text messages, I realized that it wasn't going to work out. I had made a series of bad decisions, and now I was facing the consequences. I walked back into the conference room and signed the settlement agreement. Packing up the apartment I shared with Callum felt like dismantling my life one object at a time. Ellis tried to call it just a kiss, but we both knew the real damage was the 4 days of lying and making Callum feel crazy for wanting the truth. When Callum came home, he handed me an envelope, money for a new deposit, and a note that sounded like goodbye. I asked if there was any future for us. He said the woman he loved wouldn't have lied like that, and he couldn't unsee who I'd become. 6 months later, I lived alone, worked elsewhere, and finally admitted I'd been unhappy long before Harper. A court order arrived, releasing us both. For the first time, peace felt possible.